Hey, welcome back guys. Hope you're all doing well. Today we are going to talk about, well, something that I find exciting because they're mine. New chisels. I just bought a new set of chisels. They are right here. They are Narex, which is a fairly reputable brand. They're certainly among the nicer chisels that I've ever owned. And it's a pretty decent sized set. And we're going to talk about, well, yeah, new chisels and importantly, sharpening them, getting them ready, because a lot of people get new chisels and they don't think they have to sharpen them at all, which might be true depending on what you're doing. They do tend to come kind of out of the box sharper than some people get them. But if you are somebody who takes woodworking fairly seriously and takes your chisels fairly seriously, you're going to want them sharper than when they come out of the box. And so we're going to take a look at what we've got here. I've sharpened up a couple of them. I've started on a couple, and there are a few that I haven't touched because it's a set of 10. And yeah, we'll talk about the differences and do a little quick demo of sharpening a couple of them. A couple additional points here. These, in case you're interested in the specifics, are the Narex Classic Bevel. There's also the Narex Premium kind of standard chisel. These aren't the mortising chisels, they're the standard ones. The premium one's basically the same thing as far as I understand it, but with like a nicer finish on the handle. And I'll probably put a finish on the handle myself. There's also the Narex Richter, I believe it is, which is a nicer chisel, nicer steel. That's the important part, right? That's what you're paying for. And that's why these aren't, you know, your classic Home Depot chisels or what have you, because they have nicer steel. So they're gonna be easier to flatten, they're gonna hold an edge better, they're gonna cut better, they're gonna stay sharp longer, which is the same thing as hold an edge better. Anyway, they're not the Richters. I love woodworking and I do quite a bit of it, but not enough to justify a whole bunch of extra expense. These are already not cheap. So yeah, well, some people might consider them cheap, but I don't. So we're gonna take a look at, yeah, exactly what you need to do to get these things ready when they're straight out of the box. We'll take a look at a couple that are straight out of the box. One thing to keep in mind, and if you look this up online, you'll see these chisels coming up a lot. There's a coating on them. There's something on them, like oil and some kind of wax or something, or almost like a clear coat. I try to take that off, as much of it as I can, before I start sharpening. And I do that with lacquer thinner and even by scraping it off with a razor blade, but carefully, you know, keeping it flat along the edge so I'm not messing up my edge. I believe you'll see print on all of these except the 2-inch one, because I was using heavy solvents on it to try and get that stuff off, and I just ended up wiping the print right off. So be careful if you're at all worried about taking the print off your chisels. Solvents can do that in some circumstances. So if you're gonna soak it in acetone or something like that, expect to have your ink come off. All right, let's take a closer look at these things. So in order to get a chisel properly sharp, you need two things to be properly sharp. The back has to be perfectly flat and smooth, and your bevel has to be perfectly flat and smooth. And some people put a little micro bevel on there too, right at the tip, to sharpen that up a little bit. I don't. I try to maintain the angle of my bevel because of the sharpening system that I use. And we'll cover that in a second. I'll show it to you guys, but I'm not using like the Scary Sharp system where they put a little micro bevel on the end for extra sharpness. My view, not everybody will agree with this, but my view is a normal chisel like this should be sharp enough to shave with, so I end up with little bald patches on my arm when I'm sharpening, because that's how I test them, and it should be fairly easy to shave a little bit of hair off your arm with them. All right, so if we take a look at this one, hopefully I can get some good light on it. I haven't done anything to it except scrape some of this stuff off it. So you can see there's like a little bit left. In the back of it still has that kind of straight up machined look, and it's got some of that kind of oil on it to protect it. But let me see if I can get a good, yeah, there you can go. There you go, you can see the machined look that it has. So this has not been sharpened at all. We might do this one in this video. It comes quite sharp, obviously. These are a relatively premium chisel, but not sharp enough. Certainly if I try to shave with it around the camera here, I get nothing. Right? If any hair comes off there, it's just because I'm losing my hair. So sharp enough to hurt yourself with, but I would say not quite sharp enough. These seem to be machined with a very slight concavity to them, and I'll show you part of why I say that, but that's nice. It helps make sharpening them, well, it helps make them very, very sharp, so you don't have to worry about anything kind of messing with you here on the flat surface, but it can also make sharpening them a bit more arduous, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's take a look at one that is fully sharp. Here we go. I spent a few minutes with this one earlier today. This is the 1 inch. You'll see it's kind of almost a little dirty because I was whetstoning it. This one has like a polished shine on the bevel, right on the edge of the bevel, right? And then importantly, it has the same on the back here. So this is where you can see kind of that concavity happening. This is a low spot, if you will. This is kind of where the edge of my stone was, which means maybe my stone needs to be flattened again. And then this area around the outside, and including right up to the edge here, is the part that's been flattened nicely. And so it's got that kind of sheen to it, right? That polished look. And this is properly sharpened, right? This is ready to go. If I take this to my arm, I can make myself a nice little bald patch there, which is gonna look silly. I should have probably kept that smaller, but it takes very little effort, takes the hair right off. So that one is done being sharpened. I'll show you my process, but these are right out of the box. They're actually in really good condition, as you will have seen. So I just go 1,000 grit, 3,000, 6,000, and then a quick strop. Doesn't take long. Now let's take a look at one that's partway through the process. This is my 2-inch chisel. I am very excited to use this. It is going to be awesome. But I've spent longer on this one than I did on the 1-inch, quite a bit longer. And the simple fact is there's a lot more metal here, right? So the top is done, although I will have to continue on with it as I continue sharpening. But the back, so you can see that concavity coming into play again, that is all a bit lower. And so the edges have been flattened completely, but I haven't gotten to the point yet with that 1,000 grit where the top all the way along there is flattened completely. So this will not do it. Even though this side is perfect, this might take off a little bit of hair here and there, but realistically, it's not sharp enough to do the job. We need this edge completely done. And there's a lot more work involved because of how big it is, at least this first time. So I'm probably gonna have to go down to like a 600 grit stone to really get that done, so that it doesn't take me, 3 hours to sharpen this one chisel, because they should only take a couple minutes realistically. With that said, I think I have a couple stones that are nice and wet and ready to go. So let's sharpen up the 5/8 one so you can see what that process looks like and approximately how long it takes. The stones that I'm using are really nice. They're from Solo Guitars. I think they're Narex or something like that. They're their ceramic whetstone. Love them. Wouldn't change to anything else personally, but hey, I might get like a diamond stone for doing scrapers or something like that. But when it comes to sharpening chisels and plane blades, these are my favorite stones. You'll see them in a second. All right, you'd think because they're my favorites that I would know the name of these things, but this is what you're looking for, right? Let's see here. I don't know that that helps. SJEHIRO, maybe that's what we're looking for. Anyway, they come in these awesome setups here that allow them to hold 2 different grits. You can see mine are covered in gunk, as it should be. That's all from sharpening, and that slurry helps with the sharpening. They hold water, so they keep your stones nice and wet, and you get your little rock in there as well that you can put on there to help get things started and speed up the process. I don't need to because, like I said, mine already have the slurry on them. So we're going to start with this 5/8 chisel. I'm going to get shop towel to kind of keep myself a little cleaner here so I don't get my chisel too gross. and we're gonna get started. So you need to keep your stones nice and wet when you do this process. Part of why this setup's so nice. They're also nicely nicely grippy, these particular ones. Yeah, I just love these stones. Anyway, I've got my 5/8 that I showed you guys earlier. We've got the machined face here. We're gonna start with the flat. That's how I do it. And I try and use as much of the stone as I can to keep my stone as flat as possible so I don't have to flatten it as often. I still do occasionally, but not as often. So we're just flattening the back of this. Pretty simple. That's stage one. What that's going to do is it's going to create a little burr here that we're then going to flip over, flatten this, and take that burr off. Ben from Crimson Guitars did like a full masterclass on sharpening. He's got way more information than I'm going to give you because I don't have the time and you don't need to see it from me when it's already been done. But I'll give you the quick version here. And check out his stuff if you want to learn more, because he knows more about sharpening than I do, and he did a fantastic job of that series. It's just a little on the long side, so set aside some time if you want to learn how to do all this for real, if this video doesn't provide you with enough information. So lots of points of contact, lots of pressure. I'm using both hands, getting that on there nice and flat, making sure I'm not changing my angles or anything like that. And yeah, just flatten that out, as simple as that. Now it would go faster on a grittier stone, but like I said, fresh out of the box, these chisels are pretty nice. So on the 1000 grit stone, I've done it now. I've got that all kind of, let me see if you can see that. Yeah, there you go. You can see I've got that nicely flattened, which will mean I've created a burr on this side that I now need to take off. Now here's where things get interesting, if I can put it that way. Here you need to follow that bevel, okay? And so some people like to do that sideways. A lot of people like to use a guide, like a little rolly guide that holds it in place. I don't use a guide. I don't like to do it sideways. I do it straight on. But if you push and you get the angle just slightly wrong, you will take a big gouge out of your stone, and these stones are expensive. So the way that you do this is pretty much no pressure going forward, and then you push down, get that angle set, and pull back with pressure. Okay, so gentle going forward, no pressure basically. You're just dragging it or pushing it along, sliding it on the surface gently, and then pressure coming back. And I have gouged a fairly expensive, the stones get softer as you go up in grit. I've put a pretty big gouge into a 6000 grit stone, getting impatient and trying to get lots of cutting power in both directions. And now I don't do that anymore. Now this is how I do it. So gentle on the way there. Don't worry so much about the angle going there. And then push down, set your angle, lots of points of contact, and get some pressure coming back. And again, you can see moving around the stone. Trying to keep it reasonably flat, but I will eventually wear out kind of the middle because I'm not going right to the front and back of it. And I'll have to flatten it out. Solo sells a flattening stone as well. There is an affiliate link in the description for Solo music gear, Solo guitars, if you want to use it to help support me. All right, now let's take a look at the other side here. Looks pretty good. We're gonna come back in on this side and take that burr back off from the other side. Keep your stone wet. Now that we've got it flat enough, we don't need to do it for nearly as long. All right. Take the burr off from the other side again. That's all I'm doing there is taking the burr off, and that's good to go up to 1,000 now. So I'm going to flip this over, again the beauty of these stones, and do my 3,000 grit. And this will slide a little easier now. It'll almost start to grip the stone just from the water because everything is so smooth now, but it'll slide a little easier and you don't have to do it for as long. So we're almost done. We've got 2 more grits to go, but we're almost done really. Just polishing that up now to the 3,000 grit level. Now I recognize that a lot of you probably know more about chisels, more about sharpening, and more about woodworking than I do. I started out as a paint guy, we all know that. So if you've got anything to add, please do. Let me know in the comments below. If you think I'm doing something wrong, especially, please tell me. And be clear about it, because if it's something that I think everybody needs to know, I'll pin your comments so they know that you're right and I'm wrong and they get the right information. But yeah, please feel free to share your knowledge down below. If you guys have questions, ask them in the comments below and I will try to answer. But what I love is watching my other viewers answer questions, because some of you guys know, like I said, more about this stuff than I do. I can tell you that this works and I can tell you that I think these chisels are pretty nice, but yeah, there are probably a bunch of people in here with nicer woodworking tools, more skills, more experience. So hopefully we can steal some of their knowledge too. It's part of why I'm showing the whole process here instead of fast forwarding through it, so we can get a little bit of feedback if we need to, and you guys can see what I'm doing, hopefully right, but who knows, possibly wrong. Okay, so that's 3,000 now, and that's bloody sharp. Like I don't know, 6 might be overkill, but that's how I like to do it. You could probably strop it after 3, it wouldn't surprise me. Well, you could obviously strop it after 3. You could probably strop it after 3 and still have it be razor sharp, but anyway, this is 6,000 grit now. So this stone is a 6,000, 1,000 combo. And now, yeah, it's like moving it over glass almost. It's really slippery, but you can see it taking the material off. The stone's white, so the contrast with the black from the steel is pretty aggressive. Go, and this shouldn't take long. We're going from 3,000 to 6,000 is not much of a process, honestly. Okay, so that's sharpened now. Use a little bit of water here and get it cleaned up, because there's water on my table. All right, now let's see what we're dealing with. There we go. Okay, anyway, hopefully you get the idea there. There we go, having some trouble getting this thing to focus. So, there we go, you can see what's going on. Nicely sharpened. Got a two-sided strop here. Got sharpening compound on one side, and the other side is just bare. And I'm just gonna pull. You've probably seen people do this with like razors or knives. I do it with my chisels and my plane blades. So, a couple on each side with medium pressure, and then gently, almost no pressure. And then to the bare leather side. Making sure not to like roll it. And that's it. Oh God. Yeah, so that shaves very easily now. And I've got a goofy bald patch on my arm. Ready to go. All right, guys, that is it. That's what I do with my new chisels. You can see the process. It helps a lot with the performance. And then I just try to keep them sharp from then on. So I'm gonna go through and do that with all of those. It's obviously like a little easier with the 7/8 inch, 1 inch, that kind of stuff, because there's less material to remove than the 2 inch. That takes a little bit more work. However, a little bit more room to get your hands on there, feel nice and comfortable, make sure you got your angles right. So in a way, the bigger chisels are easier. When I get down to like the little 1/4 inch one here, there's not a ton of material to remove. It'll be fast, but it's a little bit touch and go trying to get that angle right without gouging into your stone. So that process can be a little bit more tenuous. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, if you have any comments, suggestions, stuff like that, please do let me know. This is how I do this. I enjoy doing it this way, and I find it very effective, but there's always lots to learn. If you want to check out those stones, check out the Solo Guitars link in the description. It is an affiliate link. If you use it, it will help me out, so I appreciate it if you do. And you know what else would help me out? If you give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. So feel free to do that. Hope you enjoyed it, and like always, I will see you next time. Have a good one.